on the topic at hand, and just from my own personal experience, and this is great that this is coming like a week after the India AI Summit, where all of us drowned in AI slop. For those of us who made it to Delhi and went through the hundreds of security checks, we're definitely seeing a lot more slop, a lot more, I would say, content, not just slop, but a lot more content in terms of um, just the way just the way people are talking about solutions. Now everything is AI powered. Like everyone who's pitching has AI powered health, AI powered climate, AI powered ed. I don't remember the last time my inbox had a solution pitch, because we get a lot of cold pitches, by the way. Given what we do get a lot of cold email pitches as well. And because these are grants, there's a lot of, I guess, just the way framing is done as well. I feel like the baseline has definitely risen in terms of how people are framing the topics, how people are framing the solutions. So I definitely do feel the baseline has risen a little bit in terms of how the framing is done, how the content is shared. Not necessarily that the content is much better quality. Nearer to your point, the correlation between the quality and the so-called richness of the content. But I do believe just the quantum of solutions has gone up. The quantum of slop has gone up.
So I haven't felt the overwhelming need to basically debottleneck the fact that, oh, everything is AI generated content. Um, there have been some instances, of course, but I don't think that I've seen a sea change in the way how presentations come about. Um, and maybe it's also a function of where we source or where we end up kind of looking at. Because we are maybe a bit sectoral, that is my view. I haven't seen it enough. But one thing for sure is that in some of the other spaces where my friends and peers work, which are a little more broader and a little more consumer focused, uh, there have been some interesting conversations, and there we have been chatting about how difficult it's becoming to kind of maybe glean who's what.
I feel like a few of the spikes that were uh, behind certain domain knowledge, for example, how to create a really kick-ass pitch deck, that was harder to, that in some sense was not gatekept, but like was a harder skill to acquire. Like you either had to be a sharp MBB consultant or like, sort of really understood like, what makes for a great pitch deck, how to think through, let's say, depth of your business model at a very early stage, that used to involve at least a far more amount of actual earned stripes versus, let's say, you being able to, rattle that off because you had a 2 hour session with Claude. All of those things have changed. For me personally, like at least how I perceive it is that it is a tool. At early stage, so much of the signal is that the founder really cares, like it really matters to them what they're building, and that care shows up in multiple ways. It shows up it shows up in the way they obsess over their product. It shows up it often shows up in the hours they put in. It shows up in the materials and collateral quality that they put out, right? So today, actually, if I receive a poor quality pitch deck, it is a contra signal that actually the founder doesn't care, because it is actually so easy to create a high quality pitch deck today. Like you just do not care enough, right? Like that's actually an interesting contra signal that I've started picking up, because there's zero excuse to put out sloppy materials in today's day and age.
What needs to change as people who are sitting on the other side is we also need to be much more updated about a typical area. There used to be times where we used to go into meetings not knowing anything at all, right? Apart from one liner, what does this company do? Okay, fine. You can't do that anymore. Like, because otherwise you'll be spending the first half an hour not being able to understand anything at all, and everything sounds great because, to Roman's point, it has reached a certain base level already. So what that means, for us is that we need to be better prepared. We need to spend more time maybe on specific areas on the field, getting to those insights before we take on deeper meetings, before we take on more detailed conversations with founders. See, a first level, do I like this person enough? Is this coming from a good source? All those signals you can get. But the moment you decide to spend more time as a team, you better be a lot more prepared with your own thesis.
I actually feel the cost is to some extent gone down, because it's also easier for us to get smarter on these very, very niche products and markets, right? Now it's very easy. Like, honestly, I think, and I'm not going to speak for all VCs, but I know a lot of VCs now also do their first level of DD by putting the pitch deck in ChatGPT. And it's very easy to get up to speed, learn about these niche subjects, topics. It's much faster. Like, I can spend 2 hours and become an expert on, some brain mapping tool and
Right.
understand exactly how it's working, and then go have an interesting conversation. So I don't have to do that. Like earlier, I would have spoken to experts, universities, done all of that work to get really, it would have probably taken me 2 months to become that expert to really understand, will this product work or not? Now I can spend 2 hours, get really smart on the product, and have a more nuanced conversation with the founder itself.
Right.
I personally have started indexing a lot more on just humanity. I feel like if information is abundant, information or facts, well, not facts, but like I feel like information stops being signal. What starts being signal is originality. So yes, information is everywhere and there's converging theses. In that crowd, on LinkedIn, what would stand out is somebody with a truly contrarian take, which is very evident, is his or her own thought. That person's an original thinker. And I feel like that is the person I'd want to engage with. I mean, fortunately for us in the venture business, and I'm sure I can speak for Shubhadeep as well, because the models are similar. We don't have to make an investment. Like in a year, we're doing maybe 10 investments a year, 15 investments a year. Can we back ourselves to find 15 exceptional people? And that's it, right? So can I find 15 people on LinkedIn? I mean, let's say if that was that's not how we source, but let's say if that's how I were to source, can I find 15 interesting people on LinkedIn who are posting truly interesting thoughts that are their own and that is original? And reality is actually, if everything is slop, it's actually really easy to figure out what's original. So it is actually today even more easier to differentiate yourself than what it was perhaps earlier, because everybody will have your neat sentence structures and dense grammatical things, and it's actually really, really easy to figure out slops.
All you have to underwrite is the founder, right? And I guess Rohit was making the point that their decisions, why they have done certain things in life. And I go back to the fundamental tenet of like human will. Human will is this magical and superb thing, and we have seen resilient founders. I'm sure all of us have, uh, you know, doing things and iterating and pivoting, and that is what differentiates them from the others, right? Effectively. So I go back to that again, that why are they really interested in this? Why are they doing this? What is the true motivation behind this? Especially when now you have so many options, right? Information is easier. Becoming a quote unquote early expert is easier. Getting to markets are easier, right? So why are you really trying to solve this problem? What is it that is driving you to do this? Because then you know that this person, to the point earlier, that if not the exact model, right, they will maybe find a tweak, they will find a way to solve for it, right? And you can go on the journey with them.
It's not as much about building the product anymore, Neerath, as about adoption and use, which for us can also come through even in the very first conversation, right? If you're building an AI tool for nurses at the last mile, who are going to use an extremely invasive process, like cervical cancer screening tool that I was talking about, is actually, it can now be, cervical cancer screening is an invasive process, right? You have to take an image of the cervix. So the woman is actually going to have to consent. You have to do and you may have to do this in a dingy clinic in a village. But you have given the power of AI to a nurse. Now, how much is that tool really customized to her needs? To, the lighting that's available. And tech is no longer the moat, right? It's your operational strength, which is your moat. And how well are you able to think through your operational challenges? I think that for us is front and center when we're having those conversations with founders. I think data definitely doesn't exist. It is being created. I think some of the early investments that impact investors are doing is helping create that data. So I think the foundational investments are actually needed towards solving the very problem that you're talking about. I think definitely if there are solutions that simply gloss over this fact, or they don't talk about the inherent data challenge upfront. That is always a red flag. I do think there will be a lot of capital that might be needed to solve this problem. And it will need a lot of patient capital as well to almost help drive the creation of these data sets, to bring together, almost like the more we have stronger data now from India One, or the more mainstream context on healthcare, I think India is still sort of helping create those data sets for itself. There is a lot of push for creating these strong data sets in India. I do think that trickle down effect will happen in a few years, and there a lot of investments will come in. But are we passing on investments because the data doesn't exist? No, we are actually seeing who's trying to solve those fundamental problems. Or by doing these investments, does that actually, to some shape or form, create those building blocks for others to come and build better? I'm still net positive on what AI can do for this field, especially in just the kind of how it's helping us make decisions, how it's giving us access to data, how it's actually helping us speed up decisions. I'm still net positive. Who knows in 6 months when we're having this conversation again.
I'm definitely net neutral. But also, full disclosure, I'm not a very, very avid user of AI yet. Some of my colleagues use it a lot more. I still like to kind of depend on human signals, and market realities sometimes, which is why probably I'm net neutral right now.